Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Disability Employment Technical Assistance Center, or DETAC, February 2024 National Community of Practice webinar. The title of our webinar today is Supporting Self-Employment for Entrepreneurs with Disabilities, Family Perspectives. We're so excited that you could join us, and we have a great lineup of presenters today who will be sharing later on. Before we get into our agenda, I'll go over a few housekeeping items, and I also just want to provide a brief visual description. So my name is Megan Ketchell, and I am the project manager for DETAC. I am a white woman with blonde hair in my 30s, wearing a black, gray, and blue flannel shirt and a gray sweater. I have a blue background with a white logo for the Disability Employment Technical Assistance Center, so that you don't see the mess in my office behind me. I'm joined today by Umaima Mayman and Donald Taylor, our technical producers, and also our colleague Sophie Ali, who will be chatting in some important links and resources throughout today's event. And Umaima, you can take us to slide 3. Thank you. All right, so here's a few tips for maximizing your participation in our Zoom today. So first off, we'll be sharing the link to the slides in the chat. And we also have captioning available today, as well as American Sign Language interpretation. Captioning is available in the Zoom window by clicking the Show Captions or Captioning button, or you can access captioning through a separate link that Sophie will share in the chat. If you have any difficulty with accessing anything, please use the Q&A pod, and we'll provide assistance as possible through that should you have any issues with the technology. Captioning is available in both English and Spanish, and those instructions we can provide in the Q&A pod if you need help with access. Due to the large number of participants we have on the line today and the folks we had registered, all of our Q&A is going to be fielded through the Q&A pod, and the chat is going to be closed to participants. So we can chat to you, but if you need to contact us, please use the Q&A function in Zoom. There also will be a live Q&A segment later in this event that will facilitate with our presenters. So if you have any questions that come up while folks are speaking, feel free to chat those in through our Q&A pod. Due to overwhelming interest, we might not be able to cover all the questions that we received today, but we'll prioritize those that really fit with our speakers today best and that we have time for. And otherwise, if there are other questions that we don't get to, we'll look at options for covering those through other TA offerings that we have. And Umaima, we can go to the next slide. So this is our agenda for today. So we're in the process of doing a quick welcome. I'll introduce our speakers, and then we'll have an introduction to self-employment and Rhode Island's self-employment overview. Then we'll have a panel presentation from a few family members of people with disabilities that own their own businesses. We'll have our live Q&A session, and then we'll close out with a couple of resources and the link to register for our next webinar in March. And we can go to the next slide. Great, so let me take a quick moment to introduce our speakers briefly before I turn it over to them. So first off, our first presenter and our facilitator for today is Sue Babin, who is a Special Projects Coordinator for the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council, or RIDDC. We're really excited to have Sue with us today, and she's worked on a number of self-employment resources for DETAC over the years that we'll share later in the presentation. We're also joined by Iraida Williams, Sue Barron, and Karen Rasnick. And each of these women are moms to people with disabilities who own their own businesses and are able to offer a really unique perspective from their experience as a mom, as well as their entrepreneurs' experience owning their own companies. So we're excited to hear from everyone and look forward to hearing your insights later in the presentation. And with that, Sue, I will turn it over to you to get us started with the presentation.
think he's got the wrong Sue up.
Oh, yes, I think we are seeing Sue Barron. Yes, don't don't be mistaken. We do have two Sue B's on the line today. So perfect. Thanks. I see Sue Baven online, and Sue Barron. We'll hear from you later.
Okay. Okay, we can go to the next slide too. Thank you so much, Megan. I really appreciate that introduction. My name is Sue Baben. I work for the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council. I am a white woman who is wearing some glasses as well as a white sweater. It's my ski sweater because it is snowing here in Rhode Island. We have almost a foot of snow. I'm really happy to be here today to talk about a little bit about our project here in Rhode Island, which started about 6 years ago. And we've gone from an option of self-employment that really was hardly known as an opportunity for people with disabilities here in Rhode Island to something that's extremely well known and very visible within our state. So I'm excited to talk about it. Our project is funded by the Rhode Island Department of Labor and Training, which is awesome. And let's go to the next slide. I wanted to start by just giving an overview of our self-employment project. So a number of years ago, a couple of family members had approached me and were looking for some resources for their family member who wanted to start a business. And at the time, there really wasn't too much out there that was available. Those family members had gone to Voc Rehab to try to get some business resources. And Voc Rehab at the time said, well, how do we know that this person is really serious about starting a business? And have they ever taken any business classes? So we started to put together a project that included a range of business classes that would be available to people. What folks told us that sometimes working in traditional jobs is just not the best option for people. Sometimes people apply for jobs and they don't get the position, or sometimes they don't even get an interview, which has been really, really discouraging for folks. Sometimes there's barriers such as transportation, that people can get a job, but they can't figure out how to get there. What we like about self-employment is that it matches a person's interests, their skills, their dreams with opportunities to launch and grow a business in an area that is really meaningful to them. And that's what's key about this. It's something that the person clearly wants to do and spend time doing that. The other opportunity with self-employment is that it demonstrates the value and contributions that people can make to not only improve their own financial futures, but also local economies. So why not? Why not self-employment? It's a part of the opportunities that exist in the range of employment, customized employment options for folks. Next slide. We asked people that have been involved with self-employment in the last 6 years, so what do you guys think? Why do you think self-employment is so important? What would you say are the benefits of self-employment? And this is Mike. This is Michael Coyne on the right, and Michael owns his own business with his mom, Sheila. They own a coffee cafe, which some of you on the line may have heard about, called Red, White, and Brew. And then they opened up a retail gift shop called the Budding Violet that has items from a number of our entrepreneurs here in Rhode Island. And you can tell just by Michael's face, look at his smile, look at how happy he is. And that's what we have seen with self-employment. There's a sense of proudness that people have as a result of having their own business. So what people said is, I get to work in a job that I really love. I get to control this job. It's an opportunity to network, to meet people, to interact with customers, and really improve social skills. You get to set your own business hours versus time set by somebody else. You decide your place of employment and you work where you want to work. You decide how much you want your business to grow and what support you need for your business. People gain and increase self-esteem, which you're going to hear from the 3 family members that you're going to hear from in a little bit. People are really proud, as I said, to be the boss, to be a small business owner, to show you their business card. And that is absolutely awesome. Next slide, please. The other key thing, and well, first, this is a collage of a variety of folks from Rhode Island that have started their own business, all different types of business, from artists to photographers to authors to greeting card writers to public speakers to a gentleman that delivers snacks to fire departments. Let's see, what else we have? Oh, we have a candle maker. There's Michael again with his coffee, one of his smoothie drinks. And then we have a lawnmower service that's on there. So we have people that have a range of different types of small businesses here in Rhode Island. The thing that's really interesting about entrepreneurial education, and I really personally think it should be part of all high school curriculums, because it teaches people some fundamental skills that they can carry through their life, whether they start a small business or not. Working with a team, public speaking, communication skills, right? Which are so important. Problem solving, thinking creatively. It helps when people can have good social skills and can interact with others, they demonstrate a higher self-esteem and more confidence in themselves. People learn all about financial areas of their life and financial literacy and budgeting and the value of money to the extent that they can. And with entrepreneurial education, people gain more control over their life and their own individual futures. Next slide, please. So in Rhode Island, what we try to do with our program is it's not just a series of business classes. The most important aspect of what we do is the ongoing support that we provide to the entrepreneurs. When we started our program 6 years ago, I went to the Small Business Administration with a couple of folks in the Small Business Development Center, in another resource that we have here in Rhode Island called the Center for Women in Enterprise. A couple of individuals with disabilities went with me to those classes, and they found the material really hard. It was sometimes the words were really big. Sometimes the PowerPoints that were up on the screen were just a listing of words and didn't have any graphics or pictures with it. And so I had approached the Small Business Administration here and the Center for Women in Enterprise, and I said, hey, can I take your curriculum and adapt it to folks with disabilities and make it a little bit more easier for people to understand and add in some graphics? And I'll work collaboratively with you guys to use your instructors to actually teach the classes. And that's how we got started. The green circle that you see over there, we have 8 different business development classes. The first is, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What is that? The second one is, what are the steps that are involved in starting a business? The third class is, who should my target market be? It can't be everybody. Just like on Shark Tank, it's not everybody. It's a certain group of individuals that are out there. The next class has to do with writing an elevator pitch. You have to be able to talk about your business in a way that makes people want to know more about it or want to buy what it is that you have. The class after that is marketing. What are the key marketing strategies that you're going to use to actually promote your business? You can have a really great idea, but if no one knows about it, then how are you going to make any money, right? Marketing is the key, one of the major keys to success. I mean, how many of you people on the line remember William Hung from America's Got Talent? This gentleman could not sing very well. He produced a CD at the end of the year, Christmas songs by William Hung, and he made, I don't know, a couple of $1 million. Or how many people remember the pet rock of the 80s or the 90s? It was a rock that some guy found in his driveway, and he packaged it in a really cool box and said, you can have a pet rock, you can name it, right? And he made over $4 million on a pet rock. I mean, so marketing is really one of the best things that people can do to promote their business and bring visibility and branding to themselves. After the marketing class, we have a class on social media, which since the pandemic, that's obviously been the focus of what we're all doing. Look, right now we're on a Zoom call. And 5 years ago, did we even know about Zoom calls? So how do you use social media to your advantage to market your business? The next couple of classes are on accounting and finances, and keeping track of your sales and inventory. And then the last class is on writing a business plan. So we take all of the components from those classes that I just mentioned, and we put that in a business portfolio that we develop in collaboration with each one of our students. So those are our business classes. Besides that, we have one-to-one technical support that's available to each person. We run 3 rounds of training a year with about 15 people in each class. One of my staff is assigned to each of the individual entrepreneurs that are in the class. We also have some peer support. We have family members that are hired as staff, because who knows better than them about the needs of folks with disabilities and the challenges as well as the successes in running a business. The one-to-one technical support also is available to people through the speakers that we have, those instructors that I mentioned that come from our small business development resources here in Rhode Island. Those individual speakers are available to any of our entrepreneurs to sit and talk with them individually about marketing, about what's the best business structure for me, or I'm thinking about changing my business plan. What do I need to do? So they get all of that support. I mentioned about the business portfolio, which is really a guide for people to help them to really look at the development of their business and on an annual basis to kind of make revisions as necessary. We also give out mini grants of up to, when we first started, we were giving out mini grants up to $2,500. We've changed that a little bit of about $1,000. Sometimes we go a little bit higher with that to really help people to buy the supplies, materials, and small equipment that they might need for their business, which is really, really important to help people to get that business off the ground. We also provide people with business cards and a logo. So when they leave our project, they have business cards, which we produce for them and ship to their houses. We help people if they want to develop a Facebook business page or Instagram or a website. That's all part of our project. We also have a weekly entrepreneurs forum, which is a weekly class that's open to anybody on Thursdays from 3 to 4 o'clock. Anybody on the line would like to join one of those classes, put your name and email in the chat, and I will take note of that and send you an invitation to come, because that way you can really see some of these entrepreneurs that have graduated from our program and how they interact with one another and how we help them to focus in on marketing in particular, and things that they need to plan for. For example, Valentine's Day is coming up. So, okay, what are you going to do to market your business for Valentine's Day? Some of the other ongoing support that we provide to people, we have on staff a public relations person, a woman that owns her own PR firm here in Rhode Island, a communications agency, and she really helps to focus attention on our individual entrepreneurs to get newspaper stories, to help them with social media posts. We develop some videos for people to be able to use so that they can include it on their website or Facebook pages. And I think that's about it. Oh, we also pay for people to go to trade shows. So selling platforms is one of the most challenging areas for people. How do I figure out how I'm going to sell my products? And so we have a lot of outside and inside vendor marketplaces. We will pay the fees for people to go to those vendor marketplaces. We even have the tents, the tables, the weights. You just have to go, bring your stuff and make some money. So we do that for people as well, which is really important. And I think we can go to the next slide, which is going to kick off our panel presentation. We have 3 really awesome moms who I know really well. And each of them will talk to you a little bit about their son or daughter and talk to you about the businesses that they have, where I'm going to ask them some individual questions about why self-employment is so important and how it's changed their lives, what kind of supports are available that they provide as a family member or that they get through our project. And then we really want to focus in on what we have seen here in Rhode Island about the incredible positive changes that have happened with people just because they own their own business and they've been connecting with other people that are business owners as well. And lastly, what advice do they have for any other family members that are out there that may have somebody that's thinking about a business? One of the advantages that we have in Rhode Island is we do have self-directed supports here in Rhode Island funded through our community waiver, which helps people to almost 25% of adults with disabilities here in Rhode Island, 1,000 out of our 4,000 adults that get supports from our adult DD agency. 25% of those individuals receive self-directed support. So people get to hire their own staff to assist them with various aspects of their life. And in Rhode Island, I think we have the highest starting rate of pay for direct support professionals at $20 an hour. Under our self-directed supports, people can hire people up to $30-something an hour to assist them with anything that they want that will help them to be more independent, to be more involved in local communities, and to make their own choices with respect to living the best life possible. So with that, I think we're going to start off with Sue Barron. And Sue, if you could start by introducing yourself and tell us a little about your son, Brian, and his business, and we will go to the next slide.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sue Barron. That is my son, Brian Barron. On the screen, I'm Brian's mom and his manager. I'm a white woman. I am wearing a purple sweater today. I have brown hair and brown eyes, and I am at home in my office in Rhode Island, where it is snowing outside as well. This is Brian. As you can see, he's the big boss of his business, and he has been a photographer since 2019. Next slide. This is Brian at a local vendor fair in the middle, showing off his frame prints. He also has photo mouse pads, photo cards, and framed work. He tries to do his best to see what else he can do, put photos on coasters or mugs, and we review his inventory on a regular basis to update what he's going to put photos on.
And Brian is an absolutely amazing photographer. He does so well at the vendor trade shows. Sue herself happens to be an entrepreneur. She's going to be modest, but Sue has done a number of different businesses herself. So she's really familiar with small businesses. She's very active in our local community up here in Gloucester, Rhode Island, which is an asset for Brian. If we could go to the next slide, and I think that's going to be Areta. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Areta Williams, and I'm the mother of Alton Stuckey. This is Alton at home, trying to figure out his next steps. Let me describe myself. I'm sorry. I'm a Latina woman with long black curly hair, and I'm wearing readers that are kind of like cheetah print, and I'm kind of medium skin colored, and I'm excited to be here to present regarding my son Alton. So this is Alton. The first picture is of Alton at home, deciding what next steps he's going to take on this portrait that he was asked to draw for a special person in the community. He's very focused. He has his business, which is called Alton Stuckey Portraits and More, or Beyond. And Alton does an array of different art. He uses acrylic. He uses colored pencils, black and white pencils. He uses different canvases and or paper. He uses different tools, as he calls his secret tools, to measure different things that he does with his art. So, and he asked me not to share that. LOL. Next slide. This is Alton at the Small Business Saturday, which he has participated now for several years. And so he set all that up. And one of the pictures that he was really proud of doing was a picture of President Obama and current President Biden, which he was really excited to do. It took him several tries because he wanted to capture them smiling. And so it took a while for him to create it, but he did create the picture. And as you can see, he did an amazing job. Next. This is his current exhibit, which is at the Newport Art Museum. These are jazz portraits of African-American artists, jazz artists that have played at the Newport Jazz Festival. Is currently up at the museum. Alton is a self-taught artist. You know, he was raised in Providence. He specializes in portraits. He's very uplifting. He works to celebrate his diversity of his community and reflects his concerns for social issues. After his invitation to exhibit at the Newport Museum at the mini exhibition, he chose to create this series because he thought it was important. And again, you know, I assist him with a lot of his creativity, just kind of guiding him, but he has his own desires and his own thoughts. And people will ask him, you know, like, why did you decide to draw or to do that particular series? Like he did a kaleidoscope series for his calendars, which he does every year. He's always just in my head, and then I put it on paper. So he's pretty creative, or very creative, and I'm very, very proud to be his mom. So yeah, next slide. I don't think I have.
Alton is, his attention to detail is like truly amazing. You really can't tell by those photos because you have to see it up close. His work is so intricate in everything that he does, and he takes it so seriously. He's really a gifted person. So he can take a photograph and just, you know, replicate it, or he can have somebody sitting in front of him and do a caricature of that person. But one thing that Yarita mentioned that I didn't say is we have an event here in Rhode Island. We're in our 8th year called Small Business Saturday Shop Our Eye. I'll put it in the chat a little later. It's an event that we created when we started to run this small business incubator in an effort to promote the businesses of people that have been through our project. So Small Business Saturday is an event that American Express created about 11 years ago to focus attention on small businesses and to get people around the holidays, right after Thanksgiving, that weekend where it's crazy shopping time, to focus in on small businesses instead of the box stores or instead of online. Let's remember that over 90% of businesses are in fact small businesses. So how can we help to support them? So what we did at the DD Council is we decided to rent out a very big hotel in our state in Warwick, Rhode Island, central part of the state. And we rented space all on the first floor of the hotel. And we provided opportunities for local artists to come in and rent some space, and for people with disabilities to sell their items to the general public. We have been sold out for the last 5 years. This year we had 166 small business vendors. 33 were people with disabilities. We want to show the integration of people with disabilities alongside other valued entrepreneurs in our community. We had over 4,000 shoppers come to this event, and people made anywhere from $300 all the way up to a couple of $1,000, and one vendor made over $6,000. So it was a very lucrative event for, in fact, all three of the folks that are, will be speaking today, their family member was at this event. So it's a great opportunity that helps people with their selling platforms. And of course, that time of the year, anytime from November all the way through the end of December is a big shopping time for everybody. And so we get a lot of by hiring the public relations person that I mentioned, we had all three of our TV stations in Rhode Island. Yeah, we're small. All three of our TV stations covered that event. We were on the Road Show, which is a local show that everybody watches. We were in newspaper coverage in about 8 different newspapers. So we had tremendous publicity about the event, and it's become a known signature event of the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council. And something, by the way, that any one of you can replicate our project. You can replicate the Small Business Saturday. It didn't take us a lot of money to get this whole activity off the ground. And that's pretty interesting that it can be done with minimal amount of resources. But Small Business Saturday is a really cool event. And with that, I would like Karen to introduce Rachel. And introduce yourself and then Rachel.
Hi, I'm Karen Rasnick. I am the mother and momager, as I call myself, of Rachel Rasnick, who is an artist. I am a white Jewish woman and I have dark hair, shoulder length. I'm wearing a light gray cardigan with a blue floral top, and I am sitting in front of a wall of colorful art that is done by my daughter, Rachel. Rachel started painting when she was 21 years old. It was the first time that she really picked up a brush. It was in her adult day program. And the first painting she ever did was so magnificent that the program hired an art teacher and started teaching her how to paint and how to work with colors. And her paintings were so beautiful and vivid that people started buying them, and there were no paintings left. So this small business opportunity came up. They approached Rachel's program and signed Rachel up, and my husband went with her, and a small business was started. We got a grant, which we used to start buying some supplies. We found a printer who could take her paintings and print them on museum quality paper with ink, and she signs and numbers them. And then we started branching off into note cards and mugs and mouse pads and coasters. And she sells her artwork on her website. She sells it in an art gallery where she is a participating artist. She has her note cards in several stores now throughout the state, and her prints, and including Michael's coffee shop soon again. They're reopening. And it's been a lot of fun. We've met a lot of wonderful people, and she's very happy. This is a picture of her and me. I think this was probably one of the first vendor shows outside that we did. We had just purchased the tent. We were using an old tablecloth I had from the dining room. And I had just bought her a banner, and there's a mistake in it. I have redone the banner since then. But we've really enjoyed doing these shows, and we've met lots of wonderful people. And we can go to the
next slide.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is a picture of Rachel teaching a painting class, which she has been doing several times to different agencies and different groups of children and adults with special needs in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And on the left-hand side are a couple of her different packages of note cards. The one on the top left is a painting from a painting called Mom's Love, which was a commission painting that she did. She does a lot of commission work also. And we've made that into note cards and prints. It's been her most popular sold item. And there's a package of her 5 note cards, which are different trees on the bottom.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Oh, were you going to say something else?
My dog is barking. Okay.
Oh, okay. Next slide. All right, so we're gonna chat a little bit with these moms to get a little bit more detail from them. So I want to start with the question of what did your family member pursue? No, why did your family member pursue the specific business venture that they have now versus traditional types of employment? And so talk a little bit about whether or not your son or daughter was involved in traditional employment and why they kind of focused in on self-employment. And we're going to start with you, Sue.
So, as Sue has said in the past just now, that sometimes our kids go to certain businesses and they fill out applications and they don't get hired. And that was what we were experiencing for a long time. We'd fill out applications, or we have something in Rhode Island called situational assessments, where you pick a job that you think that your child would like. They go to the business and they do the job, but then when their time is up, they're not hired. And that was very disappointing for my son. So we decided when he was 21 years old that he was just going to take a break from doing that. And we decided to let him volunteer. He volunteers at a local elementary school that he went to, and he helps the phys ed teacher. But he also asked us if he could take a photography class, and we agreed. So we had to do a little bit of research, but we found a photographer who was willing to work with young adults with special needs. And he took Brian under his wing, and he took him out a few times, and they took pictures together. And I would say within 2 weeks, he called me and he said, drop whatever you're doing. You need to start a business for Brian selling his photography. And we were just floored because it was, we didn't even know that he had a good eye. It just happened to come about, and that's exactly what we did. We dropped everything. We got in touch with Sue. Brian was in one of the first classes for self-employment, and it has absolutely been a blessing to Brian and to our family for him to just get out there and take pictures. Everyone helps him, and he's doing an amazing job, and it's something he likes. So he's proud, he's happy, he talks a lot, he just loves it. And he has a shirt that says he is the big boss on it.
That's great. Iraida, how about you? Was Alton involved in any other type of traditional jobs before he kind of pursued this business that he has now?
No, he was not. He was an art assistant teacher volunteer for 25 years at the school that he attended. And he was an assistant to the teacher, but he was not paid. I think towards the end, I at least got them to agree to pay for his ride tickets so the bus to get him there and back. Because as we always foster independence, that was part of that, is to get him there. So yeah, so not traditional, other than through carved out jobs that were put forth to him through day programs.
But why did he want to start this kind of a business? What kind of got him going?
So he started painting probably when he was 14, and I guess he realized that he was pretty talented, but was always afraid to kind of branch out to do different things like portraits of other people. He couldn't do faces. He couldn't do animals. He couldn't draw the animals or paint them. And so I was afforded the opportunity for Alton to take classes, non-credited classes at the Rhode Island School of Design, where Alton attended several classes. He did probably 9 or 10 classes there. And towards the end of the classes, because it was a core curriculum that was developed for folks not with disabilities, but folks who were coming from low-income areas of the state of Rhode Island, and there was a grant one of the professors said to me, oh, if he could do math, at a higher level or read at a higher level, he could teach these classes. And that kind of boosted his, I guess, his wit. And so he decided, well, I'm gonna pursue this. I'm gonna do more art. And so, participating and volunteering at the school allowed him that opportunity to be able to explore for himself. So he assisted the teacher. He was in a program where it was a program for kids with special needs. And so he felt, I'm older and I can teach them. And so that kind of gave him the boost he needed. I mean, he had this wit about him that, wow, he now was a teacher, quote unquote. And that kind of like spilled off into other things. And then when he finished the classes that he did take at RISD, he was then able to do, pictures of animals, take just a picture that someone gave him that he would draw from it. And he it just blew up. He just blew up. And then he had the opportunity to again be a part of the small business classes through your program, which really kind of encouraged him and gave him the tools that he needed from the business end. And from there, we kind of ran with it. And it's just been an amazing thing, an amazing opportunity for him.
Thank you. Karen, how about Rachel? Was she involved with any other type of traditional job, and how did she get into this area of art?
Rachel started with the Transition Academy after high school, and she didn't really love all of the jobs that were available. She didn't like stocking shelves at the drugstore. She didn't like the bagging at the supermarkets. They were all things that were boring to her. They were having her check labels at the TJ Maxx. She liked, and it was just things that she didn't like. The few jobs that she loved, she worked at a dog groomer's, washing the dog. She loved that, but she wasn't going to be hired. She loved working at a preschool, but they couldn't hire her because she didn't have enough math. She would have to take a praxis and she would never do the math work to be able to pass the test. So when she started painting at her program, she was in a program 5 days a week. That was something that she absolutely loved. She loved the freedom of being creative and to be able to do what she wanted to do. And then when we started that as a business, when she started doing it as a business and making money, it really motivated in her and encouraging her. She's doing this, and it's all her own creativity, and she does it on her time, and it's her work, and it's people looking at her and saying, wow, you're amazing, and you're so talented. And it's been incredible. It's given her confidence. She's made so many friends from this. She is out teaching classes. She was never able to speak to people before, and now she's in front of a group teaching classes. So it's really just been a wonderful motivator. And now that we're expanding, she's starting to go into textile design. So we're putting some of her artwork onto fabric now and branching out. So she really loves it. And the art world makes people happy. So it's been wonderful.
You bring up a really good point. When I first met Rachel, when she came into our business series with her dad, and everybody had to go around the room and introduce themselves. And Rachel said, hi, my name is Rachel. I couldn't even understand what she was saying. Her hand was up here to her head. And one of the things that we do for every class is people have to introduce themselves. And once they get to the elevator pitch portion of the classes, then after that, they have to describe their business in every class. And so just that experience of doing that in a small group of people that end up becoming friends and supportive of one another helps people to improve their social and improve their communication skills, which now, as Karen said, Rachel is up there, she's teaching classes, she's speaking, to everybody that comes into contact with her, and it's been really amazing. What kind of support do you as a family member individually provide to your family members? So let's do it backwards. We're going to start with you, Karen. So how has your family been able to provide support to Rachel, and does she get support from anywhere else outside of the family?
Well, the support has been from the family, but we also have outside support. She goes to, she's in 2 different day programs, and she goes to one of them 2 days a week. And that is where she's doing a lot of her artwork. And the instructor, Carrie, we put her in an art program. So Carrie has been really influential in her life and her creativity, and really making her see out of the box and get her out of her stickiness, because, you know, she has this disability and she gets stuck. And Carrie's been really wonderful at making her mind experience new things and see the world in a different place. As far as the business end of it, I manage her business. My daughter Maxine, who is a communications major and is a whiz at 26 years old, has built up her website, has done her slide presentation, helped her with her elevator speech. She does all of her social media on Facebook and Instagram. All I do is send pictures to my daughter, and she posts everything and keeps updating it. My husband schleps around, and he'll bring her to things that she needs to go to. He's the one who brought her to her business classes in the beginning. So we've really, it's a family effort, because Rachel has her disability. I do all of the framing of her artwork, and I'm sewing pillows for her with the fabric that she did now. So we all do, but she's the one who picks what she wants to paint. She's the one who does all of her paintings and picks the colors and picks the ideas and decides what she wants to put her artwork onto. So that's all her.
Cool. All right. Sue, how about you? What do you and or your family do to help support Brian and his business?
This is a group effort. So Brian just self-directed in Rhode Island, which means he has hired his own staff to help him on a day-to-day basis. And they are all wonderful. And luckily they each know a little bit about photography. So because Brian can't drive, they drive him all over the state of Rhode Island, nearby Massachusetts, Connecticut, or if we go on vacation, and they also come along to take pictures, and they know how to work the camera, which I'm still learning. I sometimes forget to take the cover off the lens for him, so they know how to help him change out the lenses from near and far. I'm not good at that. What I do is I do most of the editing to get the photos on cards, coasters, and mouse pads. And then my husband does all the editing for the framed work. And then between all of us, we work on inventory, framing, and then we all take part in looking online and looking for events that we feel that he would be able to do, and the price is right, and we're available that day to take him so that we can work in the booth with him. So that part of it is a family effort.
Okay, thank you. Rida, how about you?
So, yep, so it's a family affair. So one of my daughters, does all of his marketing, all of his elevator speeches. She takes care of all of the seeking out venues that he can go and sell his artwork. She also does all the communication via email with people who want self-portraits or whatever they're requesting. So she monitors his email account as well as his Instagram. He doesn't mind the supports to that end, you know, but we guide him in terms of, you know, what he decides to do for like self-portraits for folks, because folks will come up to him and say, well, like, can you do this self-portrait? And they'll say, well, how much do you charge? So we've put it on paper what to charge, but he will charge, you know, $2, $5, and it takes a lot of work, his artwork. So sometimes we have to kind of guide him. And so he allows that, but sometimes he's very adamant and he wants to charge, you know, $3. Well, then it's $3 for a beautiful 14 by 16 portrait. It's okay. It's okay. So that's what she does. My other daughter, she does the support of transporting him to and from where he needs to go. My husband does all of the finances for him. And then I'm just mama. I do everything, a little bit of everything for him. I would say that he does have self-directed supports as well. He has staff. He has one particular staff that he has decided these past 2 years that they will travel throughout the state of Rhode Island to look for different plants and flowers, because he's going to venture off to do plants and flowers this coming year. So they go around taking pictures and kind of deciding what he's going to take to add to his portfolio. So that's a new thing. So it's a family affair. We support him 100%. He's very adamant about certain things and how things should be. And so, yeah, so we just go by what he says and just guide him along. But yeah, he does an amazing job.
Family support is definitely one of the elements of success here in Rhode Island for entrepreneurs. But another point that I just want to mention is a number of our community DD agencies have really invested in their staff support of self-employment. And so when you have an agency that is really knowledgeable about self-employment, and a number of our, at least a half a dozen, well, we have 34 agencies here in Rhode Island, and at least almost a dozen of them are actively involved with self-employment and have people from their agents, more than one person from their agency involved. And they invest training in their staff by having their same staff come to the community classes that we run, so that the staff really understand about aspects of business development and can help people. So in a number of cases here, we have entrepreneurs that do not have family, but have support from their community agencies or through self-directed supports. And so they get their support to get to events through those agencies or through self-directed staff. But family support is really a big item, and it's true with anybody that really runs a small business, right? If you have your own small business on the side, you usually have someone from your family involved. You bounce ideas off of them. So why should it be any different for people with disabilities? The next question that I want to ask is, and some of you have touched upon it, but I really want you to spend a little time talking about what changes have you seen in your family member since they started this business and being involved with Rhode Island's self-employment project. So we're going to start this time with Karen.
So what changes have I seen in Rachel? She is much more self-confident. She's able to make decisions for herself, which she's never been able to do. She is hauling boxes and cargo, and she's had to become more organized because she has her artwork and her supplies, and she's able to talk and advocate for herself more. She's happier.
She feels good about herself.
That's my
Yes.
husband. She
Oh,
really
she feels
feels
really good
she's
about
really,
herself.
she does. She's very proud of herself. She was commissioned by one of our state senators to do his holiday card last year. I mean, how exciting is that? She has a dress that I have hung up behind me. This is a print from the painting above that she sewed herself and wore to several events. So people recognize her wherever she goes around the state, and it's exciting. And she's met such wonderful, wonderful people that she's so friendly with. Wherever they go, they see each other, they support each other, they're proud of each other. And it's just been 100%, 1,000% positive. We don't know where her life would have been if we didn't have this. It's just really changed everything about her and our family.
Thank you. Thank you. So how about you? What changes have you seen in Brian since he's been involved with the photography business?
Brian has come out of his shell a lot. He used to be very shy and he wouldn't talk to people, and he would always look down like this and talk to the ground. And now he looks people straight in the eye. And with the disabilities that he has, that's very rare. So it's wonderful to see. He's also very passionate about his work, and like Karen said, it gives him a lot of confidence too. He likes to talk to everybody about his business, whether he's at an event or he's at a coffee shop. He's always handing out his business cards, and he immediately asks people to follow him on Instagram. We also have a bet in our house, so I have my own business as well. And so far I lead him by a little bit. I have a few more Facebook followers and a few more Instagram followers than he does, but it gives us a little competition at home to see who sells the most, who has the most followers, which he would have never done before without this business. He's more independent and he has more freedom with this business. He gets to do exercise every day because he's out in the woods hiking, looking for the perfect bird shot. His patience is better too. He sat in the woods in leaves on the ground for 2 hours waiting for the perfect bald eagle shot. I mean, I can't get him to sit still at home for anything like that, or to stay at the dinner table if we, have company, but for a bald eagle, he was willing to do it. So I think all those things are it's very impressive to see from a young man that was so shy and wouldn't even look you in the eye. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, Brian loves to talk about his business, and he's learned how to really promote his business, as Sue said, giving out, his business card to people. He's also the photographer for one of our little local newspapers here, and he does some shots for the Smithfield Times, which is really amazing. And he's done some community service as well, which gives him a lot of recognition, and again, has helped with people's self-esteem. Arida, can you talk a little bit about Alton and the positive changes that you've seen in him?
Yeah, so Alton too, he gives out his business cards wherever he goes. He has those business cards in his pocket. And he gives out his Instagram. He has become more social because he was kind of shy. He's, very involved in the community in terms of art, so he make sure that whatever's available, that he, schedules his time so that he can be a part of any event that's going on in the community that he can get to and sell his products. I find that he's become more independent with himself. Time management is really, really big because it was a disaster. So that is really, really good because like if someone says, I need this portrait, for say a month from now, he puts it on his calendar and then he times himself because he would spend 8 hours doing art for someone. And I said, well, we can't do that because, he'd call you, do his check-in, and he didn't eat and he didn't do anything. He drank water, and that was concerning. So, so I had to put my foot down, like, listen, we can't do this. So now we know that when he does art, he has done much better with time management because he will sit there at his table and just stay for hours and hours and hours. So I think that's the biggest piece is the time management, being more vocal with his opinions on different things in terms of his art business. And then again, promoting and marketing kind of on his own, which is really good. Yeah.
Thank you. So the last question before we go to question and answers, and if you guys could be a little brief on this one, if you're willing to share something about the type of disability that your son or daughter has, I think that might be helpful to people that are on the line. But what advice would you suggest to other families or staff who are out there who may know someone who has a hobby or an idea for a small business? So what's your advice to people? And let's start, Arida, let's stick with you first.
Okay, so Alton has intellectual and developmental disabilities. He also has cerebral palsy. I think that the advice that I could give is that, follow your dreams. If you have a good support system in place, follow your dreams, never give up. And you don't know what another person sees in you or in your talent that perhaps you're not even thinking about, and someone brings it to your attention and tells you, you know what, I'll support you in that. So I think that following your dreams, and don't let nothing define you. Don't let your disability define you, because it doesn't. You define your destination. And so seek for the sky. Seek for the sky. So there you'll see the stars up close.
Great, good advice. Karen, how about you?
I
Talk a
agree
little
with
bit about
everything
Rachel's-
Rita said.
Talk a little bit about Rachel's disability, if you're willing to share that, and then advice you have for other people.
Rachel has intellectual disabilities and she's on the autism spectrum. She is, well, she was very shy and she still sometimes gets shy, but she's become a lot more outgoing because of the business. And my advice to people is, if you find a talent in your child and your adult child, or they have a passion, as long as they have a good support system, it can be possible. And find the right people who are willing to support that person. If there are other people aside from the family, but you really have to have a strong support system, because Rachel couldn't do this on her own. She can paint anything she wants, but she's not going to be able to go to the stores and advocate for herself without other people helping her. She's not going to be able to find the printers and find the people to do all of that stuff. So, you really need a good support system, but whatever their talent is, find it and go for it, and don't let anybody stop you.
Excellent. And Sue, what would you say about Brian and advice that you have for families or staff that are out there?
Brian has he's mentally challenged with a speech impediment. Some people can understand him, most people can't. You have to spend some time with him. He has an enlarged aorta. He had to have a spinal fusion because he has a movement disorder called dystonia, which twisted his body. Dystonia is the third most movement disorder. It's Parkinson's, tremors, and dystonia. And Brian and I talked about this the other night, what advice he would give, and he actually said that people should find something that they're passionate about, which we just talked about, and to find resources and people that they can rely on, so they have someone to bounce ideas back and forth, and do research about a certain business and make sure that your product or your service is something that people want, something that people are looking for, and just don't give up. Be around people who will encourage you to keep your business going even when things get tough. And sometimes it gets tough for us too. We can't do a show, or we have too many things going on, or it costs too much money. So just be around positive people that are going to support you all the time.
Great advice from all three of you. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Megan now, and we're going to open it up, I believe, to some questions from people that are on the line.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sue, Irida, and Karen. Really insightful presentations, and really appreciate all of your contributions. We got tons of questions in the chat, so let me get my list up here and I'll try to go through. And I think there's at least one question for everyone individually too. Just an admin item first. So one of our most commonly asked questions is, are the slides available? Well, is this recorded and going to be shared after? And the answer is yes. The slides are available, and Sophie has shared those in the chat, as well as in response to some of the Q&A that we received. And the recording will be posted to our DETAC website about the next week. So let's start from the beginning of the list. So one of the first questions we got, Sue, was around the weekly entrepreneurs forum. And we had a ton of questions about that and a lot of people interested in it. I wondered if you could just talk briefly about that again and what it is, just in case anybody joined us a little late.
Well, we found out early on, as I said, that just having the business development series is not enough. It really needs to be a focus on the ongoing support. And all three of these families indicated how important that is. So we decided, actually, we started to run it right before COVID, and we've run it every single Thursday for the last 3 or 4 years, with the exception of 2 days, 2 times, from 3 to 4 o'clock. And it is for any of our graduates to pop in. So if somebody was in our program 6 years ago, they can pop in. We talk about what are people doing, how are they marketing their business, what's coming up, because we like people to think about themes. So we've got Valentine's Day coming up, we got Mother's Day, we got Easter, we got Father's Day. And so what can you do with respect to your business to be able to market for those particular upcoming events? We also talk about outside vendor shows, who wants to sign up for something. And then we sometimes have speakers. We've had presentations from our Secretary of State's office on information that's up on their website that's available to small business owners in Rhode Island. We've had presentations on how do you set up an Instagram account. We're going to be doing a few more things in March on how do you photograph your items so that they really stand out, and using a laser press to make some signs so that people have a professional display when they're out at vendor shows. So we've had guests come to those Thursday afternoon sessions, just so people can get a sense and see the camaraderie between people and see what we talk about.
Great, thanks, Sue. And I'll follow up that with a question about social media. So first, a comment. I know Sophie shared in the chat the links to the Facebook, Instagram, and website profiles for Brian, Alton, and Rachel. So be sure to check those out in the chat if you ask a question about kind of where can you see their art. And then Iraida, Karen, and Sue, if there's any other links or anything like that, feel free to chat those in and we can push them out to everyone. But the other question that we received was around social media and technology training. I don't know if there's any resources in particular that you can recommend, Sue, or what your approach to that has been through the forums and the training that you offer in Rhode Island.
Well, we're really fortunate here that we have the Division of Developmental Disabilities identified some resources for a technology fund, and every person that's in our system had an opportunity to be able to purchase some technology, and a lot of people took advantage of buying iPads or small computers to be able to do Zoom meetings and attend different kinds of things that were done online, and got some support from their community agencies or through their self-directed staff in terms of how to use technology. But I mentioned that our communications person, whose name is Deb Moraes, we do a lot of step-by-step work of how do you set up that Instagram account? How do you post in advance on Facebook Marketplace? And so we take people step by step, and then we show different websites that our members have produced themselves, or some other ones that are out there. We encourage people to look at Shark Tank and watch that to kind of learn different things to help them to really promote their businesses. So technology is really important in using social media at different times. We have assisted people to think about with social media, it's not just making a post. It might be making a short video. It might be trying to look for engagement from your customers to get them to respond to something. It's all about the color choices that you use, because that attracts people. So we cover a lot of different things when we talk about social media and postings.
Great, thanks, Sue. So this is a question for Sue Barron, Karen, and Iraida. So we had a question in the chat of if any of your businesses sell your products on Etsy. I don't know if Alton, Rachel, or Brian have sold on Etsy, or if you have any thoughts on that.
No, not at this time. We don't.
No,
We
neither-
We started out on Etsy when Rachel first started doing her artwork, and we did mugs and note cards on Etsy, but we didn't get that. It was very hard because there's so many people on Etsy. I think it just is so big. It's hard to navigate. So we stopped doing that. And she
Got
has
it.
a website that we do it on.
Great, thanks. And I think we've shared that website in the chat. And then specifically for Iraida, there's a question about where to find Alton's work online or to request a commission. I know I shared Alton's Instagram as well as the link to his exhibit at the Newport Art Museum. But is there any other contact info that you want to share, or is Instagram the best channel?
Either the Instagram, or they could, they could call me and, we can connect. Or they can send an email to my daughter's email, because she monitors the stuff, so I can give you that as well.
Great. Yeah, if you want to share that in the chat, Iraida, I can we can respond to the person that asked that question just to share. I don't want to blast out your contact info to everybody, but we can at a minimum send it there. And if you are interested, please send a request through the Q&A pod, and we can send you that information as well. All right. So let me look at our questions. Sorry, there was a lot coming in, so I just want to pick one. So this is a question for Sue Babin. I know you're focused in Rhode Island. I don't know if you're aware of any other states or have talked to anyone else in other states that have done similar programs. And just any ideas about kind of how to get started with something like this in a different state.
Yeah, I think self-employment nationally is a growing interest area. We have some partnerships and collaborations with Celebrate EDU in Colorado. Synergies is in Florida. John's Crazy Socks is over in New York. One of the goals that I would love to see is some sort of the NDI, the National Disability Institute, has done some work in this area as well in promoting webinars, highlighting people that have businesses. But one of the things that I would really like to do is get states together that are interested in really looking at what are the ongoing supports? How can we do better? After every one of the classes that we have with people, we always ask them, their family members, their staff, or whoever, what could we do differently? What else do you need? And that's another thing that we talk about in our Thursday group. What else can we provide for you to help you? We've created a speakers bureau with 23 of our entrepreneurs that go around the state talking to students that are in transition centers or high schools about self-employment. And we pay them $50 every time they do a presentation. We speak to other states. We have assisted the state of Maine to set up a program very, very similar to ours. They just kicked their program off in the last few months, as a matter of fact. So we're very interested in talking to other states. And as I said earlier, it doesn't take a lot. It does take, people that have a passion for this, people that are interested in it, and just to be as creative as possible to help people to realize their dreams. So it's about figuring out, does somebody have a hobby? Do they have a skill? Do they have a passion already for something? What are those things? And are those things, as I think it was Sue that said it, is this, or maybe it was, yeah, I don't know which one. Is this something that the public will want to buy? How do we turn this into an opportunity for the person to be able to make some money and turn it into a business?
That's great. Thank you, Sue. All right. Moving on to the next question. So, someone chatted in that their son wants to be self-employed and start a business, but the challenge has been convincing others that this is a possibility, as most don't go into self-employment post-transition. So they, in their state, they're saying that there is not necessarily a business class, and they're looking for recommendations where they can start personally, and wondered about contacting like a small business administration. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Sue.
I do, actually, Megan, in your, if people go to the DETAC website, under your resources page, we did a couple of webinars on steps involved into organizing a program similar to ours. We talked about the different, I think there's two parts. We talked about the components of the program, and then we talked about the nuts and bolts of funding. How do you get it going? So one of my suggestions is go on over there and look at the resources that are already listed on the DETAC website. You may want to talk to your developmental disabilities council in your state, as well as the state DD office, about what are your ideas on self-employment. I'd be glad to talk to those state agencies or talk with you more about how you can get something going in your own state. It does take, when we started with a small group of only 5 people. We had a little pilot project, and those 5 people came with me to any one of those classes that were out there that were offered, as I said earlier, by the Small Business Administration or Small Business Development Center or the Center for Women in Enterprise. We listened to the material. And when we talked with our colleagues over at Vocational Resources, they basically said, we'd like to see people have some business sense to understand the steps that are involved in promoting a successful business. How do you do that? How do you market that? What's the right business structure? What about the taxes and accounting and all of those things that go with the financial reporting and all of those aspects of it? And so that's how we decided what our 8 classes were. They were focused in on those particular areas and helping people to develop a really a good business plan, but yet simple enough for people to understand and utilize as a guide for helping them to kind of promote their business throughout the year and beyond.
Thanks, Sue. And yes, you read my mind, as we have the DETAC resources on one of the next couple of slides. And I know Sophie chatted in our website. So if you search self-employment on the DETAC website, those other resources that we'll show in a minute will come up. I think we have time for a couple of more questions. So let's see. We had a few questions about grants. People are aware that it's possible to get business loans, but wondered if anyone has used a grant program instead, and what that looked like and what the experience was with acquiring grants. And I'll open that up to anyone. Karen, Arida, Sue, or Sue.
Rachel just got her business grant through Sue, through the Women in Business and Enterprise. And we use that to start up buying supplies and paints and brushes. And then from any of the money that she started earning, we just kept buying more supplies. And that's how we started.
Yeah, so we've not, the grant that we were awarded was from the business class that Alton took, and that kind of helped start him. But no, a business loan from us that is all tied back. So no, we just kind of, whatever he sells, we just kind of reinvent the wheel with it, right? We reinvent the wheel with it. We think it's important for him not to worry, because he is a worrywart. I'm sure all moms can agree. So I never let him think, because he was like, oh, we're not going to have enough money. We're not going to. So I never let him think that. But thankfully, we've not had to try to solicit funds or a grant or a loan. He's done pretty well, and he's happy. I don't like pushing him. And I think sometimes, because people see his work, he does amazing work, like all the other moms on here. We know they do amazing work, but he needs to be happy, and that's the first and foremost thing. And so honestly, doing this series for these jazz artists, these Black artists, it was amazing because it's, Black History Month, and it was just amazing. They reached out to him, and that was just like, wow. So that's very personal to him. 1 and 2, it was very satisfying, and he's very, very happy to know that people are going to go there all the way from, because right, we always say everything's so far away. Newport's just up the street, I guess. But that's important to him, that people are going to see his art that's displayed, and in hopes that after the display is taken down, that people will purchase it. So yeah, we just want them to be happy. So fortunately, no, we have not had to solicit any funds to continue.
And the money that Rachel makes goes right back into her business. She wants to take a pottery class, so she can take a pottery class because she's made enough money now to take a pottery class. So it's allowed her to expand and explore. And if she wants to she bought a loom because she wants to do some weaving. She bought some fabric because she wants to put her, sew some pillows with her paintings on them. So it's allowed her to expand her business and do some more things that she's finding interests in. So that's really what it's helped. But we got that initial grant, and from there we've been able to slowly build up over time so that now she can put it back into the business and do other things to expand her creativity.
One thing I would like to add, I had mentioned that Voc Rehab initially was not supportive of people with respect to grants. Today, they clearly are. We've had a number of our graduates go to Voc Rehab. One of our graduates received who has an amazing stained glass business, and she's on our Thursday calls most of the time. And she received almost a $10,000 grant from Voc Rehab to set up her own studio. So it was a dream all her life to have a place in the community that was her own storefront, and it happened last year. She's actually outgrowing that space and is in the process of moving to another space. Voc Rehab has also provided grants to other individuals now that have graduated from our program, because they have that business portfolio that they can show them. We've also had 3 different families that have opened, I think at least 3 different families that have opened up their own storefronts and have gone to banks for loans for those storefront facilities. So that is happening. But most of the people do not have their own storefront. They sell on their own, either online, through the outside and inside vendor events, through Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, or at different shows that are out there throughout the state, and at Small Business Saturday, of course.
We also encourage, I'm sure, Karen, you did the same. We also ask stores and restaurants if they will allow Brian to put his photography on the walls there and also sell it for him. And they do that as well, which is a big help.
Yeah,
especially in the
Rachel. Yeah,
winter
Rachel's
months
done the
when
same
you can't
thing.
get out.
Yeah, Rachel's had her artwork in coffee shops, displayed, and in some galleries and other places. And she sold some of her pieces just from having them displayed.
That's great. And thanks all for sharing. I think we got through a lot of questions and really appreciate you responding to all those on the fly. I think that brings us to the end of our Q&A segment. So I'll move on to the next slide here. And I know we had a couple of requests for Sue's contact information in the Q&A. So this is on slide 21. And the link for the slides today are in the chat. I know Sophie just sent that again, I believe a little bit ago, but you can check the slides out in the chat, and Sue's contact information is in there as well as pictured on the screen here. Sue, any final thoughts before I move us on to the last couple of slides?
Yeah, I just want to draw people over to our website, www.riddc.org. And if you click on the self-employment tab, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff that we talked about today, but you'll see many, many videos about the entrepreneurs that we've mentioned and others, and a lot of different resource information. I also want to draw your attention to our Small Business Saturday website, which is, I put it in the chat, but I don't know if people saw it. www.sbsshopri.org. You'll see a really great 3-minute video that just captures the emotion and the passion and just the excitement on our Small Business Saturday, and meet a lot of our vendors that we've had throughout Rhode Island, which is really a great thing. And you'll see a bunch of information about some of the businesses and how cool it is to be able to have an integrated event that demonstrates the value and contributions that people with disabilities have made to our local economy.
Thanks, Sue. Appreciate it. And if you send some of those links, we might be able to incorporate those in one of our follow-up emails with the recording. All right, and maybe we can go to the next slide. I'll just breeze through these because I know we're almost out of time. So first up, this is the slide I was mentioning where you can see our past resources and courses on self-employment that I think all of which Sue contributed to for DETAC. So those links are included on slide 22 in the slide deck, but also if you visit our DETAC website. And then the next slide. And we are so glad that you were able to join us today for this webinar, but this is also a monthly series. So we are looking forward to our next webinar on Tuesday, March 12th, which is strategies to support people with developmental disabilities and brain injury to achieve employment goals through small business ownership. And we're going to have presenters from NASHA, as well as the founder of the startup hub Synergies Work, which is the largest startup hub in the US for disability-led businesses. So very excited for that next on March 12th, same time, and our registration link is in the chat and on this slide. And then moving on to the next slide, just a note beyond the contact information that was shared for our presenters, you can also always reach out to our DETAC team through our on-demand TA request page on our website or our email address. And then on our last slide, just our contact information again. And that really concludes our event today. We really appreciate you for participating, and we have dropped a form in the chat if you're able to share feedback on your experience with today's event. Thank you so much to Areta, Sue, and Karen for joining us. Really appreciate you contributing your time and energy into sharing your perspectives on this very important topic, and hope to connect with you again soon. So thanks, everyone.